A 74-year-old man walked into the Bellagio casino with $500,000, cash and a death wish. What happened next would destroy an entire criminal empire. Henry stood in the glittering lobby, the chandelier's light casting shadows across his weathered face. The leather bag in his trembling hands contained 40 years of savings, his life's work, reduced to stacks of $100 bills. 3 months ago, his wife, Margaret, had died after a brutal battle with Alzheimer's. Now every sunrise felt like torture. He'd come to Vegas to lose it all, every last penny. When the money was gone, so would be his reason to live. But sometimes the universe has different plans. Henry checked into his room and gazed out at the neon wasteland below. The distant laughter from the casino floor mocked his emptiness. "I'm sorry, Margaret," he whispered to his reflection. "I just can't do this alone anymore." At 9 p.m., Henry descended into the casino's pulsing heart. Slot machines screamed their electronic songs, while dealers called out cards like auctioneers of hope. He approached a blackjack table and converted 100,000 into chips. The dealer's eyes widened. Elderly Korean men didn't usually bet this big. Henry lost the first hand. 5,000 vanished in seconds. Good, he thought. Let's make this quick. He lost the second hand, then the third. 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. Gone. The pain in his chest wasn't from losing money, it was relief. Each loss brought him closer to the end he craved. Then he heard the screaming. "Father, please stop. If you lose the company's 300,000, you'll go to prison." What will Mother say? Henry turned toward the desperate voice. A young man in his late 20s clung to a middle-aged man, both sobbing at a nearby table. Korean words cutting through the casino noise like broken glass. "Son, I can't help it anymore. Because of your gambling addiction. Because you touched the company funds for your student loans. What choice do I have now?" Henry forgot his own game. For 40 years in LA, he'd seen plenty of Korean community dramas, but nothing this desperate. This wasn't just family crisis. This was life or death. 2 casino employees approached the father and son. The man in the expensive suit leaned close to the older Korean man. "Mr. Daniel Kang, if you don't pay the 300,000 by tonight, we can't guarantee your son's safety." Henry's blood ran cold. This wasn't about gambling debts. This was organized crime. The young man, who Henry now realized was named David, gripped his father tighter. "Dad, this is all my fault. I came to study and got addicted to gambling. I stole from your construction company. Now what do we do?" Daniel's voice shook like autumn leaves. 40 years I've built this business. Honest work. And now, his words died in his throat. Henry couldn't watch anymore. His feet moved before his mind could stop them. "What's going on here?" David looked up through his tears and suddenly dropped to his knees in front of Henry. "Please, sir, help us. We're going to die." The casino employee looked Henry up and down with obvious contempt. "Old man, stay out of this. Could be dangerous for you." But Henry had spent 40 years dealing with every type of person in LA's Koreatown. He'd seen wannabe tough guys before. "Listen, kid, don't laugh at me because I'm old. When I was your age, nothing scared me." The employee hesitated. Most elderly victims ran away or cowered in fear. This old man was different. "Sir, these are very dangerous people," David whispered, grabbing Henry's arm. Henry had already made his decision. The money was meant for suicide anyway. Why not use it to save lives instead? "I've got money too. Tell me how to help them." That was Henry's first mistake. He had no idea how deep this rabbit hole went. 30 years earlier, Henry and Margaret had arrived in America with nothing but dreams and a few $1,000s. They started with a tiny Korean restaurant in LA's Koreatown, working 18-hour days. Henry ran the front while Margaret commanded the kitchen. During slow periods, they studied English together. When their children were born, they worked even harder. "Henry," Margaret would say during those exhausting nights, "let's give our kids the education we never had." They raised 2 sons. One became a doctor, the other a lawyer. The American dream realized through sheer will and sacrifice. 20 years in, they owned 3 successful restaurants. Their boys graduated from prestigious universities. Henry and Margaret would sit together on quiet evenings and marvel at what they'd built from nothing. But happiness has an expiration date. 5 years ago, Margaret's memory started failing. First forgotten names, then faces. Finally, she stopped recognizing Henry altogether. "Who are you?" became her most frequent question, each time stabbing Henry's heart like broken glass. The last 3 years were hell. Margaret couldn't speak, couldn't walk, couldn't remember 40 years of marriage. But Henry sat beside her hospital bed every day, telling stories of their life together, hoping somewhere inside her fading mind she could still hear him. The day she died, Henry held her hand as her breathing slowed to silence. "You worked so hard, Margaret," he whispered. "Rest now." After the funeral, his son suggested a nursing home. "Dad, you've earned your rest. Let us take care of you." But Henry saw those facilities as prisons for the forgotten. 40 years of chasing the American dream. And this was the reward, an empty room and scheduled activities until death. That's when the darkness crept in. What was the point of living without Margaret? Why burden his successful sons with a depressed old man? Las Vegas seemed like the perfect solution. Lose everything, then fade away naturally. No mess for the family to clean up. But watching Daniel and David's desperation awakened. Something Henry thought had died with Margaret. The casino employee returned with a middle-aged man in an expensive suit. "I'm the casino manager. This situation is complicated." He studied Henry like a predator sizing up prey. "300,000 is serious money. But with interest, the debt is now 500,000. "What?" Daniel screamed. "You said 300. "Casino policy," the manager replied coldly. 10% daily compound interest on overdue amounts. This wasn't a legitimate casino. No legal gambling house charged rates like that. Henry realized they'd stumbled into something much darker. "So what do you want from us?" Henry asked calmly. The manager smiled like a shark. 500,000 cash by 2 a.m. Otherwise, David might not be leaving Las Vegas. Daniel and David went white. This was extortion, not debt collection. "Give me some time," Henry said. "You have until 2 a.m. The manager checked his watch. "It's 10 p.m. now. 4 hours. When they left, Henry sat with the traumatized father and son in a quiet corner. "Sir, I'm so sorry we've dragged you into this." Daniel bowed his head in shame. "Don't apologize. You gave me something I'd lost, a reason to wake up tomorrow." David stared at Henry in confusion. "What do you mean?" "I came here to die, son. But maybe helping you two is why I'm still alive." Henry's first move was intelligence gathering. 40 years of business had taught him that information was power. He found Jennifer, a Korean-American casino employee, and explained the situation. Jennifer's expression grew grave. "Oh, you mean those guys?" "This happens a lot. They target Korean and Chinese tourists. It's a trap." She pulled Henry aside. "It starts with normal casino games. Then they lure victims to private rooms with bigger stakes. Once people owe massive debts, they're trapped." "Who's behind this?" Jennifer glanced around nervously. "Tony Park. Real name is Jin-Soo Park. He fled Korea 20 years ago on fraud charges. Now he runs illegal gambling operations targeting Asian tourists in Vegas." "What about the police?" "They know, but these guys are clever. They make it look like legitimate casino debts. Most victims just pay up and go home in shame." Henry felt the familiar fire of his younger days. "Can you arrange a meeting with this Tony Park?" "Are you insane? He's dangerous." "I've dealt with gangsters before. Back in LA's Koreatown, you learn to handle all types." Jennifer reluctantly made the call. "Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Hotel Cafe on the first floor." "But I'm warning you, this man is violent." The next morning at exactly 10 a.m., a sharp-eyed Korean-American man in his 40s entered the cafe. Expensive suit, dangerous eyes. "Tony Park," he introduced himself. "Henry Sung," Henry replied politely. Tony studied Henry with amusement. Most people run when they hear my name. You're either very brave or very stupid. I've seen your type before, kid. Lake Koreatown in the 80s was full of wannabe tough guys like you. Tony's expression hardened. He hadn't expected this pushback from an elderly man. Let's talk business. How do we settle this 500,000? Henry opened his bag, revealing stacks of cash. 400,000 cash right now. In exchange, you leave Daniel and David alone forever. That's not how business works, old man. The debt is 500. Then let's gamble for it, Henry said. My 400 against your debt. I win one hand, we're even. Tony's eyes gleamed with greed and curiosity. You'd risk everything for complete strangers. This money was meant to disappear anyway. Might as well use it to help someone. Tony was intrigued despite himself. Disappear? My wife died 3 months ago. I came here to lose everything and follow her. But maybe this is a better way to go out. For the first time, Tony looked uncertain. Death didn't scare this old man. Fine. Tonight, 8 p.m., VIP room, Baccarat. But if you lose, it won't just be about money anymore. What do you mean? Your son's in L.A., the doctor and lawyer. Successful men with a lot to lose. Henry's blood chilled. In one night, they'd researched his entire family. My family has nothing to do with this. Of course not. But if you break our agreement, Tony's smile was pure menace. That's when Jennifer returned with shocking news. Henry, I need to tell you something. I'm not really a casino employee. Henry's eyes widened. I'm FBI, Organized Crime Task Force. We've been investigating Tony Park for 6 months. Daniel and David gasped in disbelief. You're a federal agent? Deep undercover. Thanks to your confrontation with Tony, he's making mistakes, leaving evidence. But I need more time. How long? If you can stall him until tomorrow morning, we'll have enough to arrest his entire organization. Henry felt destiny clicking into place. So tonight's game is just buying time? It could be very dangerous. Tony's suspicious now. Don't worry. 40 years of business taught me how to read people and play the long game. That evening at 8 p.m., Henry entered the VIP room. The atmosphere was different from the main casino floor. Quieter, more expensive, but with an undercurrent of menace. Tony waited with 2 large men flanking him. Last chance to walk away, old man. I'm here to finish what we started. The baccarat table was ready. Henry placed his 400,000 in cash. Tony matched it. Best of 5 hands. Winner takes all. Henry won the first hand. Tony took the second. Henry won the third. Tony won the fourth. Everything came down to the final hand. Nervous, old man. Actually, I'm having fun. But let me ask you something. Why do you do this? Prey on your own people? Money, obviously. Asians are easy targets in Vegas. They're ashamed to go to police. Henry smiled, thinking of the recording device in his pocket. Keep talking, you bastard. The final cards were dealt. Henry had 8. Tony had 6. Player wins, the dealer announced. Henry had won. Tony's face twisted with rage. This game was rigged. Don't be a sore loser, kid. Take it like a man. You have no idea who you're messing with. FBI, nobody move. The VIP room doors exploded inward as federal agents swarmed in. Jennifer led the charge. Tony Park, you're under arrest for organized crime, tax evasion, extortion, and illegal gambling operations. As they handcuffed Tony, he stared at Henry in disbelief. You set me up. No, son. You set yourself up. I just gave you enough rope. 1 week later, Tony Park and his organization received sentences, ranging from 10 to 20 years in federal prison. Daniel and David were free from all debts. We can never repay you, David said through tears. You already did. You gave me a reason to keep living. Henry returned to L.A. a changed man. Instead of the nursing home, he opened a gambling addiction counseling center in Koreatown. The small sign read, Henry Sung Counseling Center. Your story matters here. 6 months later, Henry sat in his office at closing time, looking at Margaret's photograph. Margaret, I think I still have work to do. Wait for me a little longer. On his desk sat thank you. letters from Daniel and David, and a commendation from the FBI. But Henry's greatest treasure was the feeling he had each morning. Excitement for the new day ahead. The 74-year-old man who'd walked into Vegas ready to die had discovered something more powerful than death purpose. Sometimes when you're ready to fold your hand, life deals you exactly the cards you need to keep playing. And Henry Sung was just getting started.